Your views, my facts, begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome everybody to Your Views, My Facts. This is Rich Brown. I'm here with TJ. TJ, say what up to the people.
What's going on, everybody?
We got Crystal in the house.
Hello.
And we have Simone here.
Hey.
Today we're going to be talking about a couple different things. Hopefully you've listened into our previous podcasts that have been some interviews, juvenile delinquency, and whether or not we're going to sentence them. Today we are going to talk about gun ownership. Obviously, a hot button topic in America, always, whether you're on either side of the aisle. Today we're sort of going to talk about our experiences with firearms. Some of us grew up with them, some of us not so much. Sort of the taboo behind it, and then just proper gun safety and techniques, just having them in the household today. TJ, do you want to go ahead and take the reins here? You're pretty good at time management and control.
Time management and control. Yes, I am. Well, I mean, my overarching, comment on this for gun safety or being in the homes is that I think a lot of these statistics that are being thrown out there, and we'll get into some of those shortly because I don't want people to think that I'm talking out of my ass, but they are misconstrued. They try to conflate things that are not equal, and as long as you as the parent have instructed your kids, or at the very least you just put a trigger lock, right, or you put the gun in an actual safe, there's not going to be an issue. And I will expand that further, is that I grew up with firearms in the home, and apparently it was just taught to me at some point. I can't tell you like when my dad or mom had taught me gun safety, but if I ever went to go get a gun, even if I knew where the keys were for the trigger lock, had I used that and even just went to go do plinking or go shoot some target or try to go shoot a squirrel in the back, I would have got my ass kicked. And that's just for just shooting at a target. Right. And I didn't grow up in a city or anything like that. So God help me, right, if I were to, kill somebody. It wouldn't matter if I killed myself, because guess what? You can't do anything to me. I'm already dead. But the point is that like this goes back to something that we had said before, and that I think that people inherently know good and evil, and they know like right from wrong. And the power of something. And I think you need to let the children make certain mistakes, i.e., if they're going to go grab onto the stove and it's on, let them grab it so they know that it's hot, and then they won't do it again. And then they start learning, right, to not do that shit again. Now, I'm not saying if you're watching them with a fork, right, going up to a wall outlet, that you probably shouldn't let them stick it in there.
I'm just imagining you shoot a person in front of them and be like, that's what happens if you don't deal with it correctly.
So on the topic, Simone, earlier you told us you were from Berkeley, right? Did you grow up with the firearms in the household at all?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So for you, when was the first time you handled a firearm?
After high school.
Okay.
I think I was in college.
Were you ever around them prior to that, or was that the first time you were around one?
That was my first time.
Were you fearful at all around it, just the fact that you hadn't grown up with them in the house?
No, because I had someone who was very familiar.
Okay. So you never had a fear of it? It was never taboo for you to be around firearms?
No, I mean, I was never raised to be like, fear guns. So.
Okay. How do you feel about firearms in the household, whether there's kids or not?
I mean, as long as they're locked up and put in places where it's not easily accessible for kids. I mean, I know TJ doesn't agree with that, but for our kids, as long as they're safely secure, I'm not going to mind.
Okay. Crystal, how about you? Did you grow up with guns in the household at all?
No.
Okay. Was it sort of taboo in your house, the idea of a firearm being?
Not at all. It was a single mom, and she was working all the time, and I mean, I don't know if she could have afforded a gun. I don't know. Like, we just didn't have them. It wasn't. There probably weren't a lot in the beach town that I grew up in. Guns at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, what I have a hard time wrestling with, and perhaps somebody can give me some prime examples, but just because you insert a gun into the home, I don't think changes the dynamics that were already there. So just like Crystal was saying, you don't have a gun, but yet did you go around and grabbing butcher knives or a cleaver and start swinging it randomly? So
No, but I did light a lot of things on fire.
okay, sure, right. No, I got you. So I guess I want to make sure that what we are staying away from, or that we're not combining. And Simone, maybe this is where there's some confusion. That, of course, if I were to put a gun on a coffee table and there's a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old, right? If it's unlocked, of course, right? I mean, they don't know, but. And I'm not saying that you should ever leave that there for them, because now you're talking about trying to teach, right, a 4, 5, 6-year-old, hey, this is bad, right? If you pick it up, I mean, heaven forbid they go to move, they know not to touch it, so maybe they're like sliding it over with a remote control because they want to play their game, and then I don't think guns accidentally discharge. Let me just state that for the record, right? But I don't think that if you insert a home into kids that already are responsible, it doesn't change anything.
Okay. I see what you're so you're saying if the firearm is there now and it's present, but the kids already understand the basics of don't touch something that's not yours,
right?
And understanding that there are consequences to what you're doing, then
What if you invite people to your home, like kids?
Yeah. Well, oh, sure. Yeah. I don't think that they should be just left out.
What about couches? In couches.
All right. So I was just going to go into this. See what she's referring to, Crystal. Let me enlighten you on a
I can only imagine.
story. So here I am in my own house, and did you guys see the shotgun in the pantry?
it did.
No.
No, I was looking for something
I was
sweet, not a
looking for
shotgun.
snacks.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you saw it at least.
I saw the cup of noodle as well.
He's
All right.
lying. There was no shotgun.
Oh, there's a shotgun.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
All right.
That's like saying there's not a shotgun in one of the lamps. Or not not a gun in one of the lamps.
Okay. Holy shit. What kind of lamp do you got?
Where isn't there a gun? Is that a better, shorter list?
Probably.
Yeah.
But okay. Anywho, so Rich and I, right? Because we were in a previous residence when we were
4
living
doors
together.
down.
Yep, 4 doors down, 5 or 6 doors whatever, from where we are now. And anyways, the couch that was in the living room is a theater style couch.
Very comfy.
Okay, so it's the same one that's downstairs, but I have a middle piece that's just not hooked up right now, but it's got the whatever for your drinks. And
Cup holders.
Sure, cup holders.
a
Yeah,
console.
yeah, that's what they're called. Yeah.
It's almost like the
It's
console in a
almost like
truck.
a middle console in a truck, right, where it lifts up and you have a compartment.
Correct.
Why wouldn't you have a gun in there?
So I had a gun in there,
No, we agree.
and
There's more to the story. though.
anyway, so had a little barbecue.
We did.
Had some people over. Some coworkers came. One of the couples had their daughter with them.
Yep.
Let me first just state, all right, that I was already in a bitchy mood. Okay, look, this is so hard for me to explain. I am all for, right, going around on the monkey bars, like with your kids or with me eating dirt. I don't care. I won't wash my hands after I piss. It doesn't bother me. What I get bothered by is that shit that you should have taken care of as a parent with your own kids at your own fucking house, not using my shit. So their daughter, all right.
Man, I'm going to see how good your memory is right now.
Okay, well, that's what was it? A
Go
wart
ahead.
or
a wart. A wart. She had sucked on her thumb too long.
So, anyways, yeah. So they wanted to borrow tweezers or the nail clippers.
They wanted like a needle to pop it, and then they wanted to use rubbing alcohol, and then they wanted to bandage it so she'd stop sucking on it.
Well, it's more than just the needle. They wanted more than just a needle.
How old is this child?
What was she?
7, 6.
She's still
Yeah.
sucking her thumb.
Well, anyways, I'm pretty sure they also wanted tweezers. So, and the thing is that I only had my one set of tweezers. Whatever. It was something like I said that I only had one of. And I'm sitting there like, no, I'm not going to let you use my fucking tweezers on a goddamn fucking wart.
It's a blister, not a wart.
Whatever, blister, wart.
Yeah.
Point is, I don't give a flying fuck.
Got you.
No, this is not the time, right?
Copy.
That's like you.
What does this have?
I mean, be
Does this have?
He's got it.
well.
Yeah.
It's setting up my like me just. Not,
Okay, so
not
nasty.
giving a
He
fuck,
didn't.
right?
He didn't
Like,
want to share his stuff, popping a nasty ward or whatever it is.
With the strangers.
Right. So,
bonding.
anyways, I'm already like getting irritated, and then, you know,
And she's screaming.
I don't remember if I went and got the gun myself then out of it, or if like she went to go lift up that center console,
She
then
went
I
for
went
it.
to.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So she went to go lift up this middle console, and I'm like, fuck, let me get over there and grab it. But she's at an age where one, she should know better.
Correct.
Right?
She was
She's
jumping
not in
around.
her, she's not in her house, and
She's jumping around on things that she shouldn't be jumping on, like walking on tables and such.
This child has just not been disciplined at all.
right.
Right.
But so, anywho, like, yes, I removed the gun from the situation. That is the responsible thing to do. Personally, do I care if her head would have got blown off? I'm being completely honest with you. Would I have cared? No.
That's a lot of
Now,
cleaning to do, though.
let me rephrase it. Would my heart have cared? Probably not. My brain's going to care because I don't know how I'm going to deal with this as far as legally, financially, right? What's going to come of me, but it should not be my fault. So I am responsible then enough to at least remove it from the situation. So nothing's going to happen. Did that answer your question?
I don't
Yeah.
What was the question?
I don't know how
I feel
I was
about
I don't
leaving.
making a
remember.
I was kind of just making a joke.
Well, it was a
Yeah,
good
I know.
story, though.
Yeah.
It was. It was
Got
a
'em all.
Perfect.
I-
Got 'em all
So
bitchy.
going off what we just said, at what age do we start teaching children? And granted, let's not use that child for example, because clearly discipline went out the window.
Right. And for the record, I'm not targeting that kid and the parents there. I'm speaking in generality.
Of course.
it, that I would hate that about any of them.
So at what age should we start teaching our children, if we're going to have firearms in the house, responsible safety or just the concept of it? And then what does that look like?
I don't think you could have an age because I think that is between the kid and the parents. Just like there are some kids that can go on to advanced classes, there are other kids that are a little bit slower. And then you have everything in between. So if you know that your child may not be able to comprehend the power of a firearm, then you shouldn't probably have any in the house or they need to be always locked up. But then that means that you need to also know where your kids are going. Because it seems like you always hear a lot of these stories that a kid goes over to somebody else's house and then they find a gun and then they use it. Like, well, I mean, do the parents not know that family on what they have? And I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's more bad parenting or bad adults than it is children. Because that's like me leaving a gun out then on the table as I'm cleaning it. And then, right, my son or my daughter has their friends over, but I go out to bullshit because you came over, right? Then next thing you know, I hear a gunshot inside. Like, why did I just leave it there? Like, I'm the one that was wrong. So there are, again, I think there are many preventable things that can be done to not have this happen. But as far as the age, what you were saying, me personally, I don't think that there's a specific age. It would be when you think that they could comprehend it.
Yeah.
Right. So
Or
obviously,
if-
like holding
or
things
if
and
they ever would. Some children are just unstable.
true.
So like,
true.
you
true.
just have to know your child.
Right. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think at the very least, right, we could probably set a generic
6.
age, and like for me it would be when can, right, and so this is like when could you hold things of that, right?
It's
Like
when they
first
can
you got to be
complete
able to
a
like,
sentence.
When they can, no.
When they
When
can
they
tell
can-
me
Yeah.
acknowledge
I
that
agree.
they
Like when they
acknowledge.
can, like
Yeah.
you would go out and you would teach them. Like when
Yes.
they can, right? You would go out. You would take them to the range.
Yeah.
You would instruct them before they even touched a gun. They would be in a safe place to do so.
correct.
Okay. How would
With small caliber, kind of start them slow.
Okay. Yeah, no, I also agree with both of you on that. I think I know a lot of my friends that have kids or people that I know, especially from the more southern states, it's sort of like it's inherent in them because they grow up obviously with guns so often, where they know at a certain point the kid can comprehend it, and then it's like, hey, look, this is a firearm. And what I think the best technique normally is explaining like, hey, it's not that I'm going to tell you you cannot ever touch this, but let me explain to you why you should not touch this without dad or mom nearby. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to see it, you let me know and I will check to make sure it's clear, and then you can come look at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's explaining that, hey, this is a tool, right? This is a tool for an adult. And ideally, it's not something that should be feared if you understand it, but let me train you on it before you want to just grab.
But even without children, shit can happen. I have a pretty good story about that, actually.
What do you got?
Yeah. So we had, I wouldn't say he's the most responsible gun owner in the world, obviously, but he was the my other squadron here at the time when I was an imagery analyst, and he had a gun just about everywhere in his apartment. And he had people over all the time, and so like under the couch, in the cabinets, loaded. So he's like this loaded 357 in his cabinet. So one of the guys goes to find a glass, picks up the fucking gun the wrong way and pulls the fucking trigger. The bullet goes through the fucking apartment wall, into the stairwell, across the hall, into the other apartment, across the hall, into the wall. Now, he got very fucking lucky because there's nobody in the stairwell. Like, he definitely could have killed somebody. So even it's not only children that are stupid with weapons, obviously. So I think keeping guns in a safe, or at least better hidden from anybody who walks into your home. If they walk in and first thing they see is a gun in my house, when they break in, even they might take it. You know. So
I think nowadays everyone needs to go through some kind of gun safety course, because it's not just for yourself if you're owning a gun. It's if you were going to your friend's house, you know how. Yeah. Or let's say someone was attacking you.
I don't agree with that, because if they don't want anything to do with guns. This kid grew up in New York City, like probably his parents didn't have him. He had no idea. Well, he wouldn't even know to go through a gun safety course, because he's had no reason to touch one other than basic training, obviously. But you know,
I just remember the first time I ever held a gun. It was in a shop and it wasn't loaded or anything like that. But I picked it up and I just kind of casually pointed it out. You know what I mean? And they're like, hey, you don't do that. You never point at someone, right? And I was like, oh, okay. I don't know the etiquette, but I think it's good for everyone to know. Oh, anyways, what I was going to say is, like, if they're in an emergency situation where they do need to disengage the firearm, if you know how to do that, that's going to help in whatever random situation that would be. Anyways, I think gun safety, everyone should go through it.
Yeah, if you're going to own a gun, you should go through it.
Or just in general.
Just in general.
Yeah. But how would you go about, like,
okay.
I don't know.
Like,
so
when you're 16 and you like driver's ed, you get a gun safety?
So out of
it's America.
How would you do that, right?
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
Out of curiosity,
right?
You know me. Got to ask this question. What is it about the guns that everybody should have to go through gun safety, but not everybody has to go through like driving a motor vehicle safety? I mean, what if you never plan on owning a car?
I mean, I guess you're right.
Thank you.
You said that much better than I did. So
what?
Yeah. That's what I fucking said.
What?
About, like, driver's ed. Like, that's what I was kind of talking about. Like, when you're 16, you go through driver's ed, you go through gun safety.
No,
but,
well, I mean,
if
I'm
you're not going to own a gun or drive a car.
Well, fuck it, then people should die for being not
stupid.
educated.
No,
and
they will, and that sucks.
So I agree more probably with Simone from this perspective, and I'm never forcing somebody to do anything, right? Mm-hmm. But in America, naturally,
unless it's anal.
in America, naturally, really, like, if you look past prior to the 1960s, I think actually weapon safety was probably something that was being taught to people. You know what I mean? Like, and what I say that is I think more households in the 1950s owned firearms than they do today. Is that not? That's not the case?
I don't believe so.
So you think we have more people that legally own guns today? Not the amount of guns, legally. But I'm saying per household. You think there are more guns in the houses today as far as per household?
What was the question?
So I'm saying compared to like the 1940s and 50s,
yeah.
Do you think there are not the total amount of like rifles or guns, right? Period, but per household, right? Per household, are there more now or were there more prior?
Oh, there are definitely more now. There are over 150 million new guns, and Americans own approximately like 350 million.
But how many of them own, like, how many is it like you and I where we have like over 10 or 15 or 20 guns?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
What I'm saying is like, I think the average household in the 1950s probably had a hunting rifle, right? Like the point I'm getting at it is I think the average household had like a hunting rifle, and what would then happen is at some point the male or female in the household would still learn from their parent how to safely, like Simone said, clear the weapon, load the weapon, and even use it if they had to. You know what I mean? Like there are literally Sears magazines from like 1956 where you see a little girl and two boys going hunting with their dad on the Sears magazine. I'm just saying it was almost like an inherently taught thing when parenting was better.
Right, but that's also times were different back then. I mean, we didn't have all the assault rifles that we do now. We didn't have all the pistols.
Most people don't have assault rifles though. Like the term, like, you know what I mean? Like many of us have armor light rifles, but like we don't have assault rifles.
Yeah, but I'm saying going back to whatever, like 1910s, 1920s. I mean, that was a time where you still it was the world was more rural then. America was more rural.
But what I'm saying is I just feel like people had the opportunity to learn from like a parent that knew the safety at the time, right?
I get it. But if there is a gun in the home, safety should be taught. But if there are no guns in the home, when are they going to get that opportunity? Or why would they take that opportunity if they never intend to touch a gun?
Maybe
learn it.
Maybe offer it as a course in public school then. Like I know like people on the left will freak out from that, but to be honest with you, it's no different than driver's ed schools at 16.
Have those corny ass commercials
Totally
that they used to
agreed.
have,
like
informational
PSAs or whatever. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're all in agreement in that if you're going to own a gun or you have a gun in the household, obviously you should have some sort of gun safety course. I think we can all at least agree to that, right? Mm-hmm. Now, back to then when you should be able to get this training. So this is from the NRA.ILA website. So that's the Institute for Legislative Action for the National Rifle Association. So the NRA firearm safety programs are conducted by more than 125,000 NRA-certified instructors and range safety officers nationwide, reaching over 1 million program participants annually. Youngsters also learn firearm safety in NRA programs offered through civic groups such as the Boy Scouts, the Jaycees, and the American Legion, and schools. Mm-hmm. So there are opportunities out there to learn. It's just if you want to partake in it or not. And then in 1988, the NRA started their Eddie Eagle gun safe program, which teaches children pre-K through third grade that if they see a gun, they should not touch it and they should tell a grown-up. And that's been used in 26,000 schools, yada, yada, yada. And it's reached more than 27 million children.
And that seems responsible. I mean, third grade, you're like 8 years old. So, like, if there's a firearm out, you should probably let your parents know that the firearm's there. Or whatever parent's there, hey. That makes sense to me.
Right. Oh, yeah. Let me get into, then, this statistic, and then you guys can tell me what you think of it. This is from the Centers for Disease Control.
CDC.
Correct, the CDC. And why I'm just saying that they are important is because they track all the mortality rates and all the different things for different reasons and so forth. So out of 113 different causes of death, all right, and this is for all races.
This was done when, 2015?
This is 2015
yeah,
data.
But I remember Barack Obama asked for this to be done, and he did not like the response.
Yeah, well, figures. Hold on, give me a second. All right, so accidental discharge of firearms. There were, in 2015, from both sexes, 489 out of, the 340 million fucking people in the U.S., The reason why I bring up that number, right, and again, that was for all races, all age groups, whatever, 2015, is it seems like, we are told that we need to go lock the window, right, to make sure that, you don't want anybody bad coming in through the window. Yet the front fucking door is wide open. And the front door in this case, right, we could say is just falls. Falls accounted to 33,000 deaths. Why aren't we teaching people how not to fucking fall? Motor vehicle accidents, 40,452. You know? I mean, I can go on and on with
so
these
from
100
accidental discharges based on the U.S. population, that puts that at a 0.00001%.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I mean, there are very few things
Liberal agenda.
on here that are fewer than that. So
I think Uber drivers, you can die a higher chance of death riding in an Uber car.
yeah, I mean,
that up,
go after. I don't know.
Tricycles.
Look, essential hypertension and hypertensive renal disease, 32,200 deaths.
That's renal.
Renal, whatever the fuck. The flu, 57,000. Get on people that are still dying from the flu.
The plague's coming back.
The point, it is that Madagascar death plague. The point is, okay, and I guess I want to direct this more towards Simone because I feel like you're the one that would be most for all the gun safety and so forth.
Sure.
So
Better than her for being not for guns.
I'm for guns.
I mean, I guess I really don't care.
well, I want you to be engaged. You know,
Okay.
talking might help clear up your sinuses, make you feel a little bit better. You know, putting you at ease.
Oh yeah.
Why is it then that the gun control advocates, and I get it just by the nature that they're gun control advocates, right? That's their cause. But why do we focus on this issue and not the larger issues? Right? I mean, let's just take, like, this is why earlier I'd asked about got to go to take a DMV test if you're not going to go get a license. But there are more deaths because of vehicles than there are guns,
Maybe
and there are
these
more.
are the 485 people who lost someone from a discharge, and they want something changed. I don't know.
No, I get it. It's just the fact that there are more firearms than there probably are vehicles, and the ratio is significantly less.
So
I mean,
so what I think it is I actually think if you look at the people that advocate the hardest, normally they are the wealthier class of Americans that advocate for limited firearms or like the removal of firearms. And what it is they're not afraid of firearms. They just don't want the common person to have a firearm. You know, they would rather their security guard have the firearm because you'll never see them without a security guard, right? So their security guard will have the firearm, but they don't want you, TJ, to have the firearm.
okay. How about this one then? So everybody wants to. This doesn't exactly say which drugs, so I don't want to misconstrue anything. But in 2014. You had 38,718 people, right, which was 28% of the accidental deaths in 2014 that died due to drug poisoning. So why aren't we going after that? I mean, there's, again, the
Aren't there
car
people
accidents?
going after that? They're just a whole different group.
Yeah, but why are we, sure, I think there are, but
Isn't that the liberal agenda, like you guys mentioned? I mean, like, that's why we hear about it.
No, actually, liberals. If you look at most liberals, actually don't support like limiting like opioids, for instance. Like they're not. I mean, I don't know.
No, I'm talking about the gun control.
Oh yeah, that's their
That's
agenda.
why we hear about it, because that's the whole climate right now.
yeah, I mean,
And they run the news.
That too.
perhaps I guess another way that I look at it is that, you've got a leak in your gas tank, and they're saying, well, to fix it, just continue putting more gas in there, right? Like that way you don't run empty. One is like, no, how about you just not worry about that and fix the fucking gas tank first, and then we can worry about the other shit, or worry about the gas leak. That was a horrible analogy. Normally I'm good at my analogies. Messed that one up.
Well, I mean,
Sorry,
I see where you're
listeners.
getting at. Though.
here's something that I would point out, right? And I've pointed this out before to people when I've just talked to them, but the people that are advocating for firearms to be removed are the ones that want to place more legislation on firearms. All they're doing is they're targeting the actual law-abiding citizen, right? They are targeting the person that follows the law. So then at that point, you're either asking the person that follows the law to become an outlaw, or you're saying, hey, I want to restrict what you can do. But these same individuals are also targeting like prison recidivism, which is they're trying to let people that have committed crimes out of jail early. So you want to punish those that have not been to jail, but you want to give a break to those that have already committed crimes in society. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
they live in this different paradox that the rest of us don't, and they lack the common sense that a human being would have, which is, if this person is not committing a crime already, then why are you going to limit what they already have? You know, it's the same sense as in California, they've just removed the 30-round magazines, right? They're like, hey, you can't have them. And the problem is at one point they were legal. So you told somebody they could have something, right?
Yeah.
You wrote laws saying that they could, and now you're telling them that, hey, actually, you're outside of the law now. Like, that was illegal. You shouldn't have this.
No, right. Yeah, that is one question, Crystal, that I don't think the gun control advocates have been able to answer, which is the criminals are still going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So what are you actually trying to restrict? And essentially what you're trying to get them to say is that, well, what we really would like to do is go into everybody's home and physically take all
Yeah.
the firearms.
Because they want to have the guns when they want to tell us what we do. They don't want us to be able to fight back, which is what the fucking Second Amendment is for.
Agreed.
They want a socialist state where we depend on them, which they've already worked on, thank God for fucking Hillary not getting in office. But that's what they want. They want to have more guns than we do, and that's
Yeah.
when that happens. Yeah, that's
Hey,
not
yeah.
good.
I've said it before, right? That America was won off of a private militia, which is just private citizens with their own firearms. So yeah, we need to keep them,
Yes.
and we can point to
Yes.
country after country that has tried to take them away, that has not turned out well. I mean, Germany comes to mind.
Yeah,
Hitler.
I mean,
Right.
to be honest with you, right now, the interesting part is if you're a gun-owning citizen in America, like, you will be called by the news media like almost a fascist at this point. But the term fascist actually falls like on the left side of the paradigm to begin with, and the idea of like stripping individual rights is a fascist concept that those that support a larger state want. So it's actually fascist calling those that are not fascists. And what they're trying what they're trying to do is they're trying to ensure that you will be a submissive male or female, and that you will be manipulated and dependent on that state.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, overall, for me, I just think that we can take the money that we are putting into all this other bullshit, right? You know, and maybe the analogy would be, yeah, like we keep funding for the gas when no, what we need to do is just stop the fucking the hole in the gas tank. You know, so let's work on fixing the other issues that are actually meaningful. Which isn't to say that the deaths are diminished. Look, I get it, right? I mean, it sucks. You know, I can't have empathy for it. I have sympathy for it, but there's bigger shit to worry about. And, you know, part of me says that I want some town. I hope I can pick the town because there are towns I don't want this to happen to, but I want one of the U.S. towns to come under siege by terrorists, and I want there to be fucking IEDs laced, and I want these fucking people to know what it's like when you can't do shit. Because that's what we're eventually going to get to. Right? Is that we need to be able to have the way to defend ourselves and stop the bullshit. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm going off on a tangent here, and so my bad. So gun safety.
Yeah, no, this is fine.
Yeah, I think you should have to go through some sort of course. Now, I don't think you should have to pay for it, right? Because I think that's an infringement. Perhaps this could be then something that's done through school. I guess I get it, right? You pay
Infotainment?
something. Yeah, I mean,
You've never heard of infotainment?
no.
What's that?
It's when they provide information in a very entertaining way, so people find it compelling to watch.
Is that a legit word?
So it's whether like a Muppet holds up a gun and
that-
it's just like,
That's
"Here,
awesome.
kids, this is how you."
Is that a legit word though?
And
I-
it is now.
I think it. I mean, I've been saying it. Infotainment.
Yeah,
like it.
but I mean,
I don't
are
know
you
who-
coined this?
I don't. I'm
Trademark.
pretty sure someone else has.
We should copyright it if
Copyright.
that's not.
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure someone has. But
All right.
that's my. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. Anyway, some form or some fashion, right? Or something.
Waivable of your military or law enforcement.
Right.
I don't know. Crystal gave that example of the dude who picked
Yeah,
up the
he's-
gun from the wrong
Yeah,
way.
I mean,
it should not be
he'd
waivable.
handled a weapon in basic training. Like he just
Right.
fucking idiot.
So that goes into
Maybe bring back the pistol training at basic training.
Maybe.
All right, fine.
That's
yeah.
that's that
Either way.
concept of Darwinism there. Then maybe he shouldn't have
If you
survived.
touch the fucking trigger, the
Yeah,
gun is going to go off.
to-
It's not rocket science.
So
Pull
yeah,
the trigger, the gun goes off.
So I think I think we could be right. So this would be having your gun safes, right? Having them locked, stored. And I will say this in about guns, which is my new recent take on drugs. Okay, is that I don't care what drugs you want to do. All right, I really don't. You can make them all legal as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my caveat, though. Oh, hear me out. Here's my caveat. All right. First off, well, we can tax them, but that's besides the point. What I'm getting at is that if you want to go do shrooms or do acid or you want to go drink and drive, you do whatever you want to do. But as soon as you need assistance or you destroy property, whatever it is, there is no court per se, right? You're 100% liable for that, for anything that must be done. So it would be the same then in for instance, in that individual that was in his apartment, somebody else grabbed the gun. Well, those two can go to court and argue about who's going to pay for it. But one of them there's no insurance, none of that bullshit. And guess what? If you go bankrupt, that is the lesson that will stick with the people then. And to me, it's the same with drugs. You want to get high on shrooms up in your house? Why do I care? Really, why do I care? I don't care what you do. I don't even care if you cut your own throat when you do it. Just don't hurt me or hurt somebody else. But once you do, you're gonna be in a world of hurt. And if you can't pay it back, right? If you do not have the money to, I'm not going to take you away from your job. I'll still let you do your job. But when you're on your time off, you will be working for the city or the county or the state, volunteer-wise, to pay it off. I mean, is that a fair compromise? We kind of went off of the gun safety, but I guess
I don't support legalization of all things, and I understand where you're coming from a taxable point of view. I think outside of the economic view of it, and even from an economic standpoint, like you have to worry about the work hours and the individuals that you would then hire at that point. So there might be some negatives to even that, but in a society where you have to maintain some sort of morality, which is slipping every day in society, to legalize all drugs, you're basically saying morality is no longer a factor in society at all. Let's just toss that now.
Yeah. All right, that's stepping back from the drugs thing.
I know as an example, I don't think you actually support that. Like, I don't think you care if people do drugs, but I don't think you actually support that.
So my question would be is when do we hold the individual responsible?
I mean, as soon as they're 18, they're legally responsible by law.
Yeah, no, but then what's the point of having like gun safety? Like this is what I'm saying. Like what does it even mean?
Well, gun safety ensures that you don't take your own life or somebody's life that you don't mean to, right? Because what's the first thing they tell you? Don't point a gun at anything that you don't want to destroy. It literally says that point blank in every manual of a firearm. So I think the point of it is to not explain what the gun does, because you should not have a gun in your possession if you don't know what it does. I think it's more or less like, there are people that want to learn firearms, but they may not know how to properly clear if there's a jam. You know what I mean? Like there's certain aspects to it that the average person, even using common sense, wouldn't know. You know what I mean? Like for all you know, maybe they try to jam out a bullet using something sharp. Little do they know they could actually set it off. There are certain things that you do need training for. And I do agree that at least if you are going to handle a firearm, you either need to have a weapon expert RSO, or you need to have a parent that knows what they're doing. And then if you're an adult, you have to have been trained in some way before you're going to use it.
I understand that. So it's been a long time since I have purchased a gun from a gun store.
He wins them a lot, though, at the auctions.
Yeah, legally.
Correct.
Okay. But my question is, when you buy one from a gun store, do they not offer to like show you, hey, do you need to know how to?
So it depends on the state, right? It depends on the store. In the state of California now, you actually have to, there is a safety certificate you now have to have in California to even be able to purchase a firearm. and then it's waived if you are law enforcement or military. But that's a state law, because like for the federal government, we have the Second Amendment, right? But the federal government doesn't really tell you what are your limitations with it outside of certain weapons that are just clearly illegal. And then from there, they allow the states to dictate how strict they want to be.
I'm just having a hard time with it. I mean, I feel like, look, I went through driver's education.
Yep.
Right? I took my test to get my license. I can still speed if I want to. So
What the heck?
So sorry, Simone's mic is falling to the floor.
There's a ghost in here.
It's
Doing what I feel.
It's just I was
It
just gonna
died?
say that. Yeah, like yeah.
It died.
Yeah.
We're about to wrap up this topic here, but the point that I was making is that you can go get all this training, right? And it's don't speed, right? Go to the conditions of the environment, whatever it is, blah blah blah. But I can still break that law, so I still don't know what the safety is going to do. I mean, you can't say, "Oh, we need better back."
But you speed because you know what you're doing and you're in control.
Yeah.
But I know. But I go. But,
So
but
here-
what is the safety going to do? I mean, they
So
say
here's an analogy, right? So often people aren't always for contraception, et cetera, but historically, at least, teen pregnancy has gone down. This year, it's actually been on the rise this year. But since the 90s, we've actually seen a decrease because people are at least being told, hey, if you have sex unprotected, you're probably going to get pregnant. You know, if you don't pull out, probably going to get pregnant. Like, these just basic concepts are now...
Crime- yeah.
Are now like
Simone's face was
they're now just blatantly, you know what I mean? Like these concepts are being trained. And what does that mean? That means for you as a male or female, you can choose to not use anything you learned in sex ed, right?
Yeah.
And you can end up pregnant or not. Or you can choose to use it. And the benefit is more than likely more people will choose to use what they've learned to avoid the consequences of like a 18-year-old pregnancy.
okay. I guess my issue would be is when does it become mandatory?
What do you mean?
Well, I wouldn't want it mandatory.
Well, I would say it's
Are we
not.
talking gun
Safety.
I don't.
It's up to the state.
I mean, it honestly would have to come down to federal. It would have to be federally mandated, probably, and then each state would then have to.
When
But
did sex ed become mandatory?
It's not.
It's not.
Oh, it's not. So it's per state?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Then there you go.
So
That's
I am very much within states' rights, right? I very much
Yeah.
support states' rights. So I think I like the fact that the Second Amendment applies to all states, right? And that's how it's supposed to be. But for states, as far as being restrictive or unrestrictive, I do like that they have that ability. If California wants to be a socialist fucking state, let them be that, and the rest of us will leave.
True.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the same. Yeah, it's just like taxes. People leave and go, you know.
Yeah, and I mean that's the point of federalism, right? Like if you don't like it here, go to Nevada, go to Texas, go to Colorado. Maybe not Colorado at this point, but
No, I got you. I don't think spending more money, right, or making it harder or creating larger roadblocks that would prevent me from exercising my Second Amendment rights is only going to frustrate me more, and I don't think it's going to do anything worthwhile, right? It's the same thing as like, oh, we should have deeper and more thorough background checks. How about we first just get the people to do the background checks to begin with, right? I mean, the ATF, I'm not saying through any fault of their own, but they already said, I mean, we get so many, right? Like at some point, it's just kind of like they just got to push them through. So it's the things that are already being done. It's the things that are not being done which are creating problems. So don't continue to pile on to it. You're trying to throw a Band-Aid onto a leaky faucet, and eventually it works short term, right? Or tape or whatever, right? The point is that eventually the adhesive is going to fall off.
So here's my thing, right? And clearly,
Yeah.
I'm very pro Second Amendment. There's no doubt where I stand on that. But if we're going to use
Pro-communist too.
definitely not that, right? But if we're going to use that argument, I mean, think of it. I think everybody in this room, including Simone, when it comes to voting rights, we want to ensure that people have to show that they are a legal citizen, right? Like all of us are for that, right?
Yes.
And that's outlined in Article 4 of the Constitution as far as the way a lot of those processes work. And then certain states have the ability to make it more restrictive of certain things here and there, as long as it doesn't seem like they're oppressing a vote, right? But we want that. In Texas, you have to show ID. California, not so much, but in Texas, you legitimately have to show, like, I am a citizen of the United States. And if we're going to go based on that perspective, that the state can determine whether or not you have to show ID or it should make it more restrictive, voting rights are just as much a right as the Second Amendment. So we can't say that we don't want the states to be able to either make it more restrictive or unrestrictive if we're not going to do the same for, like, voting rights. Or even, like, the First Amendment, right? There's clearly a difference between free speech, and then there's a level of hate speech, and then there's inciting riots, right? So, like, there's these different levels, and you have the ability to say whatever you want, but if you fuck up, you're probably going to get sued for libel, you're going to get sued for slander, and that's why people go to journalist school, hopefully, to understand how to do that properly, right? And I'm not saying that you have to, in every state, do firearm safety, but I think if the state wants to vote in simply attending a course to ensure that you understand the basics of don't point the firearm at your face, don't point the firearm at a child, like, these are things that I'm not opposed to. Like that's where maybe I take my hat off from, like, a libertarian conservative, and I look maybe a little bit more social, not socialistic, but nationalistic, where, like, it's just good for the nation to have good firearm training.
I mean, yeah, I'm tracking with what you're saying. I just,
trust me, I want a gun in every household, but I just want to ensure that people aren't crazy to have them.
I do not want a gun in every household.
I want a gun in every hand.
No.
And a loaf of bread in the other one.
No.
What you're saying? What is
Panera Bread saying was a loaf of bread in every arm.
He loves
to
that
work
Panera.
there.
He loves Panera Bread.
I love Panera.
Yeah, so do I. I love that place. I'm glad that there's one in
Yuma now.
He's planning on going there tonight, he said.
There's also an Ulta.
Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap this up here. So let's give our quick 30-second bottom line then of gun safety.
I think it starts with the parents,
Don't have children.
right?
Well, yeah.
If you're going to have if you're going to have kids, damn Simone, if you're going to have kids, teach them right, not just for firearms, but just in life, right? And then if you yourself want to learn how to use a firearm, ask somebody who has many and let us lead you. That's all.
Simone?
Do what you need to do.
That's long and
I mean, I just live your life, man. If a gun comes across, just be smart about it. I got lucky that I was with someone who knew what they were talking about. Gun safety. If it happens in the state, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I just...
Yeah.
I'm one of the lucky ones who's just... I was never educated in gun safety, but...
Marksman
It's just-
first go.
I'm going to presume that we don't have any, like, kids listening to the show. Mm-hmm. So for the parents or potentially parents or anybody that's an adult then that is listening, teach a young one some gun safety then on how to properly ensure that a gun is unloaded.
Somebody grab Gould because he's a young man and teach him how he has a right to bear arms.
Yeah.
Safely.
All right, so there you have it. And look, I think overall, then, yeah, gun safety, it is a good thing, but I don't know.
Crystal, you want to close us out?
I don't agree that everybody should own a gun because a lot of people are stupid. But I believe in definitely gun safety for sure. But if you're going to own a gun, you need to know how to use it. And like you were asking earlier, I've seen plenty of people walk out of a gun store in Nevada or a gun show in Nevada and they weren't shown. They just purchase it and walk out. So it's... Yeah,
I mean, people... I
which
know,
means there's a lot of people out there who don't know how to use a gun.
Yeah, but I know. But the thing... I don't want people thinking, though, that gun shows are bad because
I don't think
I think there's a 50-50 split there. Well, it's more than 50-50, but you are on one of two sides. One, you already have firearms, so you're going there, right, to go get something else. You already know how to use them. Or two, if you're going there to get an illegal gun, you probably don't care about gun safety anyways because you're going to go commit crime. So, again, it really doesn't mean anything.
But you're right. Most guns come with a manual.
So let's go ahead and wrap this up. We've got another review, man.
Oh, what we got?
So from Mitchell Whip.
Who's Mitch?
He's a buddy I went through tech school with years ago.
Is he a good guy?
A great guy.
Okay. What up, Mitch?
Loved it. He likes the Packers, though.
You know what? Is he from Wisconsin?
Yes.
Okay, so he's like Ursula.
Yes.
We like Ursula, so we like Mitch.
Yeah. He's from the OOP, the Oopers. The
Okay.
UP. If I'm not mistaken. But anyways, he said, always a great listen. I'm going to read this verbatim. Okay.
Lay it down.
Always a great listen. Good discussions and interesting topics that will getting, thinking, or laughing.
Mitch.
That will get you.
That will get you thinking or laughing.
That's what it should have said.
Yeah. And then he said, keep them coming, in parentheses, STS.
Did he spell
which
it
is so to
coming?
speak.
COMING?
Yeah,
Hopefully-
COMING,
okay.
yeah. Keep them coming. But either way, it wouldn't matter. It's STS, man, so
Yeah.
to speak.
So, yeah.
Hey, Mitch, appreciate the review, man. Thank you. If you haven't left us a review yet, for anybody else out there, I don't know what you're waiting on.
You know what,
So,
Mitchell? For your review, what we're going to give you is post online, whatever your social media website is for us, and tell us what you want the next topic to be. And we will dedicate the next episode to your topic.
Boom.
Power to the
Great.
people.
Power to the peeps. Peep power. Simone, any last thing?
No.
If they wanna find us, where was it again?
iTunes, Podbean.
Podbean, yeah.
Ooh, I got that right.
Facebook,
Facebook,
at
YouTube.
Views and Facts, YouTube, yeah.
Apparently
We're
not.
on
And
up there.
Instagram eventually.
That's true. Yeah. And again, great short clip out there of one of our previous episodes that Bradley put together. If you haven't checked that out, get onto our Facebook page. Funny as hell. I think so, at least. Everybody, I appreciate you joining me in the den. Listeners, thanks for virtually being in the den with us here. And we hope you had a good listen. Take care, everybody.